Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Sacosio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Child Care Director's Chair.
Hey guys, it's your girl Erica here with the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. I have an episode for you. Today we have Sherri J. White. You probably know Sherri from TikTok, social media, Instagram, and all of her pages. She talks a lot about being an offsite owner. So my listeners are probably like, oh, it's going to be good because all I talk about is why I'm on site. Anyway, if your program only runs smoothly when you're in the building, that's not leadership, that's dependency, which that is true. In this episode, the Child Care Director's Chair podcast is joined with Sherri J. White, to talk about what it really takes to move from being the one that holds it all together to building a leadership team that can confidently run a program without you. Because the goal isn't to be everywhere, and it certainly isn't to do everything, but it is to build leaders who can think, decide, and lead when you're not there. That we do agree on. So today we're going to talk a little bit about developing confident decision makers, not task followers, and a few other goodies. But before we do that, I'm going to give her a few minutes to just talk a little bit about herself, how she ended up here in the childcare world, and the other things that she has on her brand as well. And I just give her a chance to, get on the mic.
Okay, hey y'all. I'm Sherri J. White, better known as Sherri J, and I am a 17-year child care business owner. I have owned and operated multiple child care centers, some at one time, some by themselves, and I love child care. I opened my first child care center when I was 23. I know I'm telling my age, but yes, I was a young owner, and I've been in this business ever since. I believe that what I've grown to believe, because this wasn't always the case, but maybe about 5 years ago, my motto became attached operationally, detached emotionally. And that is how I run my business these days. And it's also how I'm able to juggle multiple centers at one time and still be successful. And my most recent accomplishment is my daughter, who is 27 now, who's been an entrepreneur since she was 18. She has just opened her very first child care center. So we are building legacy and wealth and experience in this industry we call childcare. That's just a little bit about me.
I love it. My daughter, it's kind of a funny story, but my daughter came to the childcare with me, which I didn't own at the time. She was 6 months old. She's now 27, is the director of one of my locations. So yes, I am all about build them girls strong so they can be leaders on their own right.
Yes.
So what brought you to the field?
Well, I had my daughter when I was 14 years old. So I was a teen parent, and her father's side of the family, they were in the childcare industry. So fortunate for me, they weren't the type of family that was like, okay, you had the baby, we'll take care of her. They're like, no, you had this baby, you're going to learn how to be a mother, and you're going to earn your keep. So in this, I would, at 14 years old, I would get up, get my baby ready, go to school. And when I got out of school, I had to be at the daycare center working and assisting and learning paperwork. And I just kind of was thrown into it. What's crazy is when I graduated high school, I wanted to get as far away from childcare as I could. Listen, if you would have asked me if this would be me 17 years later, I would have told you no. And I went into corporate America, and just being in corporate America, it just was not fulfilling. I didn't feel challenged, and I ended up back here. So that's how it started.
Wow.
So I've been doing this since I was 14.
Yeah. So we have a few similar things for sure. I also started 17 years ago with my own business, 2008, which was by the way, for those who are not listening, if you didn't know what was going on in 2008, it was a recession. And the other thing I think is super important is that things that people think might be something that would hold you back, like being a
Mhm.
teen mom. No, you learned resilience. You learned a lot of
Mhm.
things, right?
Yes.
That you can apply in real life. And so I
Mhm.
always tell people, I'm like, those struggles, they're there for a reason, and
Yep.
they definitely make you a
Mhm.
strong individual. So
Yes,
never,
for
those are
certain.
blessings. You don't know it
Yes.
at the time, but those are blessings.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So how many centers do you have?
So right now I own 2. But
Okay.
I also am a silent partner in a couple sprinkle here and there, but those I just kind of collect. I mentor and I make sure that everything is good. So that's a new thing that I've introduced maybe in the last 6, 7 years of my career. But I am responsible
Yes.
solely for 2 centers. Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all right. Yeah, there's the build up and the build down. That you gotta you know the number when you know the number. I've opened
Mm-hmm.
up 6 centers. I was like, "No, no,
Mm-mm,
thank you. No, thank you."
mm-mm.
So I have 3. I
Okay.
have 3.
That's
That's a
still
good
a lot
number for me because I
though.
can still do
Woo!
all the fun things I wanna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wanna go on the airplane with you while the places you're going.
Yes, we are. We're leaving in a couple weeks. 15 childcare providers. We're headed to Bali. So it's
I love it,
exciting.
I love it, I love
Mhm.
it. So let's talk about leadership for a little bit.
Yeah.
So how do you develop confident decision makers? Because if you're not on site, you need people who are not only able to use those systems that you have, but
Mhm.
also be able to make decisions because sometimes things don't go as planned. Like always, things don't go as planned in our field, right? So how did you develop those confident decision makers?
You know what? I developed them, I would say, by not being afraid to be the bad guy. What I've learned in this industry is a lot of us pacify the people that we hire in hopes that they don't think we're mean or that they don't think that we're pushy or that they don't think that we're aggressive. And again, I was built off resilience. Everything I know came from learning the hard way and nobody holding my hand. And I was like, well, I can't be the only one that will have a level of success by being taught that way. So when people come into my organization, I make it crystal clear from the time they step in. If you are looking for somebody to hold your hand, pacify and baby you, this isn't the place for you. If you are looking for somebody to build you up, mold you, and become a leader so that you can be the best version of yourself, this is the place. And from the day they walk in the door,
Mm,
I'm no nonsense. I'm fair, I'm approachable, I'm humble, but I mean business from the time they clock in to the time they clock out.
mhm.
And I stand on that regardless to the fact. And it has really just worked for me. I've gotten a lot of backlash for people who just don't adapt to that leadership style. But for those who do, they become
Yeah.
the best leaders. And that works for me.
Yeah. It's funny because I had done an interview with a lady that was looking for a job,
Hmm.
maybe about 2 weeks ago, and when I tell you I threw everything at her, I was, like, so no nonsense. I was like, "Listen, I travel a lot. I need people dependable.
Hmm.
Don't come to me and say, 'I don't wanna work in this room or that room.' Don't come to me and say, 'I can work 5 days a week, 9 to 5,' and then 2 weeks later, 'Oh, now I have to
Hmm.
work, every other Tuesday, 2 to 3.' Like, don't come to me with that. Like, I'm telling you
Mm-mm.
right now, I'm not interested in that."
Nope.
So, I think, I have it takes a while to get there because I do love people and
Yeah.
I'm very caring in our field.
Hmm.
We're caring people,
Yeah.
but there does come a point, right? And unfortunately, it's before you have a nervous breakdown, or think you're going to die in your playground that you've got to hold those standards. Like, listen,
Yes.
this is a job. This is what I need from you. This isn't just like come in and get a check. It just can't be,
Absolutely.
right? There's
No.
a level of excellence. So I think, what you're saying is like, you got to tell them right on day one that
And
this
I
ain't.
learned that early. Being 23, you got to think I was very young. So when I started my very first childcare center, it was the complete opposite. I'll tell anybody if you're getting in this industry, it's going to turn you into a totally different person. But when I first started at 23, everybody that worked for me was older than me. So, they pushed over me, they took advantage of me. They tested boundaries, and I'm new in being a leader and managing adults, of course. So I'm thinking, well, as long as I'm nice and as long as I'm sweet, and it took a while for me to realize that I was not building leaders. I was building people that were dependent on me being the person to show them everything. And at 25, I'm stressed out. Like at 25, I'm supposed to be living my absolute best life. And it got to a point where I was like, no, I can't be this person. In order for me to be the person that is going to be able to have a sense of sanity, that old girl has to go. And I had to kill off that 25-year-old girl who was being walked all over in order to become this woman that I am today.
Yeah. Good job. You got there quicker than I did. No, it's for real. My listeners, I listen all the time. I tell the story all the time. There was a day about 2 years ago that I was on my playground. I wasn't sure if I was having a heart attack, an asthma attack, or a panic attack. I had lost my mom. There was COVID. There was just all
Mhm.
that, and I finally just like kind of almost exhaled, and I'm like, no, 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 this has got to end right
Yeah.
now. I got on
Yeah.
a plane all by myself and flew to Arizona, and I was there for a
Wow.
week. I unplugged. I didn't talk to no one, not a phone, not a nothing. Um, and my point is when I came back, I was a different person.
Yeah.
It took me a
Yeah.
long and so definitely don't get to that point where, like you said, you're stressed
Mhm.
out and you're physically, mentally, all the things that you're depleted.
Yeah.
And people do have to grow themselves too. They have to be interested. They have to be
Mhm.
invested. So I think, the hiring practice and being transparent from day one is
Mhm.
important. And then being consistent, like you said, and clear about
Yeah.
what their
'Cause
expectations
that's
are.
what I learned. I used to want so much for people, and they would come in, they would do these interviews, and I would be like, "Oh my gosh, she seems like she would be a great," and then I would start in my mind planning a whole future for this person that came in and applied to be a teacher. And now I'm putting all these expectations, and it's like, you can't do that. You have to accept people at face value. You have to accept where they are, not where you want them to be. And that's the best way to lead them. Let them naturally decide, I want more, I'm willing for more. And then from there, you can mold them to be more. And those are some of the best leaders that come to the conclusion on their own without being forced into it.
Yeah. So let's talk about this because this happens to a lot of owners.
Hmm.
How do we stop becoming bottlenecked in our own programs? Because right, we're at the top and
Hmm.
somehow, we get bottlenecked where, like you said, everything lands on your desk. Every question goes to
Hmm.
you, no matter how many directors, administrators you have in between you somehow. How do you
Yeah.
stop doing that?
Well, kind of what I said earlier, attached operationally, detached emotionally. And when I say detached emotionally, I don't mean cold hearted or you just don't care, but you really have to decide what parts of your program are yours. Just because you own the center and you own the program does not mean you should own every aspect of what goes on inside those walls. So, what I learned is that I had to give myself a job description. And the
Hmm.
same way that I expected my staff to stay in their lane, to do their jobs, and to own their role, I also had to own mine. Because if every time I come in that center, I'm showing you how I can do your job better than you, then you're just going to let me do it. What's
Uh-huh.
the point? It's not going to be right anyway. So I had to learn to stop being the bottleneck by understanding I hired this person for a reason. If I didn't need them, they wouldn't be there. So who am I to take over their job and to, you know, uh, come in and be superwoman when it wasn't necessary. And that's how I stopped being the bottleneck. I gave myself a position and I refuse to play any other position unless it's available. Now, if the position is available, I'm gonna step in it. But if it belongs to somebody else, they gotta play their role. And if they can't play their role, I have to find a person that can.
Yeah, that's really great advice. And some of us just we don't do that. We just
No.
don't.
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
you have free time, right? Free up your time while actually strengthening your program. So you free up your time so you can work on other things. Let's talk about that. Let's say
Okay.
I've got it down, my systems are down, I got the right people in place. I've got this free time. What do you start working on?
Well, for me, I started working on who I was or who I wanted to be before I got sucked into the childcare world. Because what people don't realize, this isn't a side hustle. This isn't a passive business that you can, do a million things with. You're either in or you're out. And I didn't know that in my 20s before I got into this industry. So there were so many things I wanted to, like, I'm a communications major. That's why I speak so well. So I wanted to be a radio broadcaster. I wanted to be a VJ. Like, I wanted to be so many things that once I got into the childcare industry and began to grow and scale, I just couldn't follow and chase those dreams. So a big part of me setting my empire up to be an absent owner was because I said, childcare takes everything I have out of me. I don't want to look up one day and never have explored any of the other opportunities or just being able to see what I could be at life. I had a baby at 14, I had a business at 23. So my whole life has been being responsible
Hmm.
in a major way. And so for me, I worked on my passions and speaking and teaching and educating. But for other people, I feel like what they work on is what sets their soul on fire when they're not inside that building. Like if you didn't have to get up and go to work for a year and you could do whatever it is you wanted to do, what does that look like? And sadly, a lot of people do not know the answer to that question. All they know is inside those walls. They know nothing else.
Amen.
They know
Amen.
nothing else. So,
Yes, amen. So
mhm,
that's hence the podcast. I
mhm,
love meeting people. I love traveling. I like getting out there. And you're right. And I couldn't have done that before I went to Arizona. I
yeah,
literally had to go to Arizona and just like be like, this is not where my story is going to end. And
yeah,
I'm going to
mhm,
definitely be outside of these four walls.
mhm,
So let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that you're doing. So you said you,
yeah.
you, you kind of do some other things. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, okay. So I am a real estate investor. I'm a realtor in Georgia and Florida. I'm a bi-state realtor. Oh gosh, I do so many things. I am an executive producer and of actually the first childcare reality show is called the Childcare Cartel. That's going to be coming to a major network very soon. Can't talk much about it because I am under contract, but
Sure.
it's been filmed, it's been produced, and
We all seen the
again,
trailer, girl. Come on
yes,
now. We all saw the
yep,
trailer.
y'all. I promise there's no fighting. Not at all. But
I saw the trailer.
um, and of course, I'm a mom. I help my daughter with her daycare. I'm full-time caretaker. A lot of people don't know I have a schizophrenic brother, so I am his full-time caretaker. And I am a Jill of all trades. I do a lot that is, business-wise, and then I have a lot on my plate personally. Just of course, like most childcare owners, once you get in this industry, you become successful. You end up being everybody's go-to. So I'm like the matriarch of my family, and that's heavy within itself. So gosh, I could go on and on. And I do my childcare consulting now, mentorship. I do a lot and I enjoy having the freedom to just wake up and say, you know what? This is what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like too, once you've been in this field for a really long time, I feel like sometimes there's this calling, like you said, you talk about coaching. There's this calling to like share what you know to try to
hmm,
save people like time or energy or like, oh
yeah,
God, I spent 5 years trying to figure out that problem. Here's the answer. Right. I think
hmm,
that there's just like this calling because again, we are nurturing people. And obviously if we
yeah,
own centers for 17 years, we know a thing or two about business on top of
hmm,
it. Right. It
yep,
doesn't happen by accident, especially during recessions and
hmm.
pandemics and all the things that you make it through. What would you say your biggest piece of advice would be for somebody who's starting a childcare right now?
You know what? I call myself the childcare mindset matriarch for a reason, and that is your mind has to be right. A lot of people go in it with the mind frame of finances or how many kids they can get or how big of a building or how much noise they can make. It is a mental thing. You have to understand exactly what you are getting yourself in, not financially, not even physically, but from an overall standpoint. Do you have the mental capacity to deal with everything that's going to come your way that you have thought of and a million things that you haven't thought of? My piece of advice to them would be you have to understand it's bigger than admin, it's bigger than money. It is about what capability level are you on to be able to handle issues that come your way and with sometimes split second decisions. You got to be able to move quick and you just have to understand it's not cute, it's not soft, and it's not fun and games. Be ready to work and be ready to make sure you have an open mind to understand that it's going to test you. But if you can tough through it, you'll be all right. You'll be
Yeah.
good.
So other than life, what were
Mhm.
some of the things that you did to build yourself to be the leader that you are?
Gosh, I study a lot. I am never too big to be coachable, and I'm not too big to be listening. Some people get a level of success or they get a level of popularity, and all of a sudden nobody can tell them anything. I feel like you can learn a lot from what people would consider to be a fool. You can learn exactly what they did that you do not need to do. You can learn what they didn't do that you do need to do. And how I got to this point was I pay attention. If somebody has something to say to me that could potentially move the needle forward in my center or in my life or in my businesses, I'm all ears. If it applies, I take it. If it doesn't apply, I move on from it. But regardless, I listen and I'm open to being taught. I'm always open to being taught something new because I'm just one of those people. I feel like somebody has something to say and it can benefit you in some kind of way.
Yeah. What are your favorite maybe resources like books or
Mhm.
podcasts or like training, or what was like maybe some of the best resources that you have used to build up your leadership?
Right now, I'm on Mel Robbins. I don't.
Mel
Are
Robbins,
you
yeah?
familiar? The Let Them theory. And when I tell you, once I read that book, and I watch almost every single episode of her podcast, only because it's so relatable and it touches on business, it touches on psychology, it touches on human behavior, and sometimes why people do the things that they do that we can never even understand. So, if I could refer anybody, I would say definitely tap into that, read that book, watch that podcast. Other than that, I would say honestly, just being in my center, experience is the best teacher for me. I would say outside of that book that just most recently has kind of guided me in a new direction, there hasn't really been anything that I've read or anybody that I talked to that has topped the experiences of my parents, of my staff, and of other childcare providers who are going through the things they go through. Because here's the thing, this industry and the experiences that we have as providers are so distinctive that reading a general business book, it could maybe
Yeah.
tell you how to, but it's nothing like hearing that somebody on the playground, I mean, I don't even want to speak anything
Yeah.
into existence by
Yeah.
giving an
Yeah.
example, but that has been my best teacher these 17 years. Other providers, their stories and the trials and tribulations that they have been through. Listen, to me, and I did a post about this recently, everything is data. Even this conversation that we're having for me, it is data. Because in my mind, I'm like, I might need to go to Arizona for a week. I'm taking everything and I'm figuring out how it applies to my situation and how I can use it to help or how I can avoid it so that it doesn't hurt. And it's the data that I've collected from these women or these owners over the years that has really helped shape and mold me and my business as well. Same way I want people listening to me, I listen.
That's great advice. I think a lot of times people always want to talk and they don't listen, and you
Hmm.
can learn a lot from listening for sure.
That's right.
If I said to you, Sherry, can you describe to me what a great leader looks like? What would you tell me?
I would say a great leader is definitely somebody who has the ability to listen, but that also understands that nobody is perfect. One of the reasons my leadership style works so well is because I know the line between showing grace and taking action. Every time somebody makes a mistake, it's not for them to be reprimanded or shunned or made to feel like they're the worst person in the world because behind closed doors, as owners, we make mistakes too. The only difference is we can't get fired for it because we own the business.
Well,
So
we can be fired.
we can, but I mean,
Yeah, I do
hopefully
know what
we
you
ain't
mean.
making
Yeah.
mistakes that big. But the difference is we're under a microscope, but a lot of the things we do, we don't have the same consequences or the same level of expectation on the front end.
Yeah.
So I think a good leader is just one that can understand that just because a person is having a hard time or they may not be performing 100% at their best doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be met with the same level of compassion or molding or understanding that anybody else does. We all go through seasons. But I've had some of the best leaders or directors that with I've been able to weather storms with them. On the other side of that storm has built somebody that is magnificent. So a good leader understands nobody is perfect. And if you can work through people in their imperfections or in their imperfect seasons, you have to have that discernment to be able to do so, so that you could potentially keep. It's hard to find good people. So if you can keep somebody, keep them. But you have to understand they're human and they're going to go through things.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I guess as we start to get a little closer to the end here, you talk about like doing things that like spark you and bring
Hmm.
you joy. Um, how do you well, you said you coach others. How do you help people maybe find what is the thing that brings them joy?
You know what? I listen to them again, but I listen for what's right under their nose. We're so busy looking forward that we can't look at what's on our face, what's right in front of us. So when people talk, it's the little things that they say that they don't even realize are so important to the needle and the trajectory in their life. And it's the things that they might say a whole sentence, and I'll ask them. One of my favorite things to ask somebody is, now say what you just said again. And they're like, what? That my shirt is orange? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, it's orange. And I'm like, oh my God, I like orange. And sometimes it just takes for a person to listen to the small details to allow them to understand this is something that could really be something for me. What's crazy is I'll give y'all a little scoop. My birthday is coming up July 4th, and what I'm giving my audience for my birthday is the ability to find out what burns inside of you. So the question you asked earlier was, now that you have all this free time on your hand, what are you going to do? Well, think about how many people are listening to me, and they're going into absent ownership. But once they become an absent owner, they're not going to know what to do. So now it's my job to teach them, how do we find who you are? What is your expertise? What can you do when you're not in that center? And a lot of times it's just asking key questions and learning key personality traits and learning people's desires, maybe even from back when they were a child, to figuring out what it is that burns them up inside.
Yeah. Huh. You have a lot of knowledge. So I'm going to ask you, this is kind of funny. It's kind of a joke,
Okay.
really. On your TikTok, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure it was yours or your Instagram, did you do a video on Miss About to Get Fired?
Yes.
You did, right? I thought so. I loved it, right? And then I love that you came back with one on the other side of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I do think that sometimes when people are interviewing, especially really good teachers, they
Mm-hmm.
people who can get a job anywhere also are interviewing you. And so sometimes when I interview people and I say I'm an on-site owner, they're like, what does that look like? They'll
Mm-hmm.
ask a lot of questions because some of them have never worked where the owner
Right.
was on site, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
the owner came in, they got the money and they dipped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's be real clear for everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
An on-site or off-site owner a lot of times can really mean the same thing, or sometimes
Mm-hmm.
they mean something different. I'm an on-site owner, but it doesn't mean necessarily I am going to be the cook or I'm going to, right? It means
Mm-hmm.
maybe I prefer to work in this space because I like to stay connected to my kids, my staff,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
also it's Wednesday. I'm clearly not in a childcare center at the moment, right?
Absolutely.
So
Mm-hmm.
being able to allow yourself to take that step out when you want to have
Mm-hmm.
everybody in place to make sure that everything still runs safely and compliance, right? So we're
Mm-hmm.
saying the same thing because I know people like, oh no, I know she's not bringing on the goals. Oh, she didn't say be absent. She said be off site, right? So there's a
Right.
difference. So just let's talk to that a little bit. How does that feel when you say I'm off site? What does that mean for your culture? Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, the people that are inside my four walls know that just because I'm not there does not mean they don't feel my presence. Listen, I do more work offsite
I'm sure.
than I do when I'm in the center. And that's the part that a lot of people, unless you're in childcare, maybe you don't understand that. Just because I'm not in the center doesn't mean that I'm not working. There are so many things that have to be taken care of outside of the center. Business to keep the business afloat, it has nothing to do what's going on inside those four walls. So I'm a person that says, well, if I'm there doing everybody else's job, who's doing my job? When do I have time to break away from my center and be in my home office and do my billing or do my food program or do my numbers? If I'm at the center and every 5 minutes it's Miss White, Miss White, Miss White. Or I'm one of those ones that I hear crying, the first thing I want to know is what's he crying for? What's
Yes,
she crying
ma'am.
for? You can't help it. That's the
Mhm.
nurture in us. That's the owner in us. So being an offsite owner just simply means that I have found a way to not have to be inside the walls of my center 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mhm.
But again, I am attached operationally, detached emotionally to the point where if I don't go to my center, I don't feel bad. I don't, feel guilty. I still
Sure.
know I'm having just as much impact on the other side of those doors as I would
Maybe
if I
more.
was inside. Way more. You want to know
Maybe
why?
more. Yeah, maybe
Because
more.
outside my center, I can see any. Same thing I just said about finding people's passions. If it's right in front of you, sometimes you do not see it. It takes for you to be on the outside. If I'm not there every day when I'm finally walking in, I'm smelling things that they're not smelling because they're
Mhm.
in it. I'm seeing things that they've looked at 20 different times, but because it's their natural habitat or they're in it every day, they're not seeing it. So honestly, being offsite allows me to ensure that the quality of the program is top tier at all times because I get to look at it from a totally different
Yeah.
lens than a person that walks in that center every day. So I'm still very much working,
Yeah.
very much.
We know you're working. We see you. We see you. All right. So as we start to wrap up, is there anything you want to leave the listeners with that I didn't ask you?
You know what? I think I want you guys to understand underneath all of the talking and the content and the night shift, I am genuinely a person who loves this industry. I love this field. I love being a child care provider. And I want people to understand, I think I'm speaking on behalf of all of the offsite, absent, detached owners, whatever you want to call us, that we have just understood that in order to keep our sanity, we absolutely don't have a choice but to have a level of separation to allow us to be able to stay afloat. So I'm no different. We are no different than those who choose to be in their center at all times. And at the end of the day, it's a choice that you get to make as an owner. I just chose this one. So that's
Yeah.
what I would like to say. You know, we still work just as hard as everybody else. We just choose to do it in a more hybrid or a different manner.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's great advice. I love how you frame that. Because again, it is a choice. It's a choice whether you
Hmm.
want to be in or out. And
Yeah.
I think too, like we took the risk and we did the
Mhm.
work, and right, it is part of being the owner, right?
And you know what? One more thing I want to say, I
Yeah.
don't think people realize this about absent ownership. You can have a great run. Do you know how many I might have a 6-month run, I might have an 8-month run on month 9? Anything can happen at any given time
Mhm.
where I have to have my butt right back in that center, in that director's chair. So listen, it never lasts forever. People are going to people every single time.
Mhm.
So listen, we have just learned to take that window of opportunity and run with it, but you got to stay attached operationally enough so that when something goes
Yes.
down, you can step right back in as if you never left. That's the science of detached and absent
That's
ownership.
great. That's great
Mhm.
advice. All right, my friends who are listening, you know what it is. So listen, if you love this podcast, please make sure that you like, subscribe, follow us, tell a friend, tell a director. I will leave Sherri's link below. I can leave the link to your Instagram and
Yeah.
the trailer. Should we put the trailer? We'll put the trailer there. You'll have to stay
Uh-oh.
up to date with when that's coming out.
Beat me up too bad, y'all. Uh-oh.
Sherri, tell everybody what are they listening to. You are on the
You are on the CCDC podcast.
You know it. All right. Thank you for being such a great guest. See you
Thank
later.
you.
And everybody, thanks for tuning in as
Thanks,
always.
guys. See ya.
Thank you so
That's a wrap for this episode of the Child Care Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Sakosio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.